not a snowball's chance in hell if you think you're not going to be creaming about this past weekend in powerlifting. The sport of powerlifting is fascinating because you get 3 lifts, 3 attempts per lift, and you're trying to lift as much as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, this past weekend was the king and queen of the platform in Florida. In the king of the platform, we had 3 of the greatest powerlifters of all time. And on the queen of the platform, we had 2 of the greatest female powerlifters of all time. Since your prostate can only take so much of a pounding, we are focusing on the king of the platform. Queen of the platform is coming next week. Shane Haller, the #1 Pokemon player in the Northwest. And he also is a former all-time world record holder for the sleeve 308 squat. Craig Foster, multiple 1,000-pound squats in sleeves on a powerlifting platform. One of 6 men to have ever benched 600 pounds and squatted 1,000 pounds in the same competition. And last but not least, we got Fernando Arias, multiple-time ABS champion and the man to have broken one of the most notorious conventional deadlift records in the world. These 3 men were set up head to head to head. Best man wins $10,000, one of the biggest prize pots in powerlifting history. So ladies and gentlemen, keep your hands and feet inside this vehicle at all times because it's about to be a roller coaster. First up, for squats, let's get a little preview as to how the boys have done historically. First up, we've got our littlest little warrior on the block, Fernando Arias. He's coming in at the lightest of these 3 men, and he has a past performance of an 860-ish pound squat as his best. Next up is Shane Haller. Shane is the former all-time world record holder for the sleeved 308 squat. However, since he set that record, his knee at one point was held together with hopes and dreams, so his squat has dropped off a little bit. And last but not least, the king of the pogs, Craig Foster. Craig has squatted over 1,000 pounds so many times in competition, I've lost count because powerlifters can't count past 3. His open powerlifting page says that his best squat in both sleeves and wraps is 1,025 pounds. But if you know the king of pogs well enough, you know that he has locked out 1,055 pounds, but unfortunately he got called for depth. This is Craig's crux, his Achilles heel. So how did squats go? First attempts. Both Shane and Fernando opened above 800 pounds. Low 800s, good enough for a jump up to mid 800s, but they both opened around the same weight. Craig, however, with Maui-sized kahunas, opened up at 959 pounds or 960 pounds. Lifting cast is having a little bit of a glitch right now, so I don't have accurate numbers on anything except for what they finished up with or whatever they included in their recaps on Instagram. Both Shane and Fernando, good lifts. Craig, on the other hand, missed due to depth. Call me Anakin Skywalker because
this is where the fun begins.
Second attempt is usually around the range where people start to have a little bit of a struggle. If you want to get mathematical about the way that you do attempt selection, first attempt should be somewhere between 90 and 95%, and second attempt should be somewhere between 100%, 95%, plus or minus 5 pounds. And then third attempt, that's where you get to have fun. Second attempt, Shane Haller, 848 pounds. The pick is good. The setup is good. The bar is settled. He descends. He starts to come up and it pauses a little bit. The boys hit a sticking point. But just like the application you tell your friends you don't have installed on your phone, this became a grinder and Shane locked it out. Next up on second attempts, Fernando Arias. Fernando loaded up just under 860 pounds. Whatever the kilogram to pound conversion is, whatever, I'm calling it 860. It's 859 point whatever. Kilos never made it to the moon, so it doesn't matter. The pick is good. The descent is good. But coming up is a little more difficult. But the thing about Fernando is he often goes 9 for 9. He rarely ever misses a lift, and this was no exception. He locked out 859 point whatever pounds. Next up is the big guy, Craig Foster, retaking his first attempt, and you best believe he made that look easy. Now, we could talk about third attempts, but this went from the boys to the Craig Foster show at this point. Both Shane and Fernando put up a best effort, but they were unable to lock out their third attempt. But like Marshawn Lynch on the Seattle Seahawks.
All right, Hasselbeck get it ball to Marshawn Lynch. Whoa, look at this shit. Look at this nigga. Look at this motherfucking beast. Look at this. Whoa. Hold on. Get the fuck out of me, pussy. Oh, shit. Look at this shit. Running. Touchdown. Easy. And Darren Sharper. Hold me down.
Craig Foster put the team on his back and put on a show. You want to see a magic trick? Craig is about to make 1,008 pounds look like it's 135. Don't blink. Now, in the powerlifting rule set, if you are going for an all-time world record, in some federations, you are allowed to take a fourth attempt. It will, however, not count towards your final total. And prior to this competition, Craig announced that the King of the Platform would be his last competition. So, with 4 minutes of rest, Craig Foster loaded up an all-time world record attempt at 1,085 pounds. Ray Williams, Optimus Prime, is the current all-time world record holder when it comes to sleeve squats. Craig's about to try and break that record. The pick is good, but with 1,085 pounds on the bar is whipping. And before you can get the squat command in the sport of powerlifting, the bar has to settle and you have to show control of the bar. Craig gets the squat command. Craig descends to the bottom of the squat, but he gets up a little bit, but the bar whip pulled him out of his line and incomplete lift. And that, unfortunately, will cap off the day for Craig Foster as he finishes off the day going 4 for 10. Normally you only get 9 attempts, but with that fourth attempt, it brings the total up to 10. Math was off. Craig finished out the day going 567 on bench, 650 on deadlift, with a 22.25 total. At this point, Shane Haller and Fernando Arias have about a 10-pound difference between their total. 10-pound difference for $10,000? You best believe it's about to get a little spicy. I know what you're thinking. Who is the better bencher? Because it's probably gonna come down to bench, right? Here's where it gets a little interesting. You see, Shane Haller has the better bench at 562 pounds going into this meet. Fernando, on the other hand, has a 556-pound bench going into this meet. They're both prolific bench pressers, but unfortunately, sometimes meet day doesn't go according to plan. Shane opens up at 507. Good lift, let's move on. Fernando opens at 507. Good lift, let's move on. See, there's an unfortunate variable in the sport of powerlifting called your ability to keep your tendons attached to your bones, or your ability to have your muscles not just implode. Factors such as stress, fatigue, sleep, CNS will contribute to your ability to recover from training and translate that training into power on the platform. Some of the behemoths out there are a little too powerful to keep their skeletons intact through the process of competing in a powerlifting meet. Ignore the fact that I have a shirtless picture of Fernando in his bed, but on Fernando's next attempt, his pec tore. Now, at this point, you would assume you've got a torn pec. What do? You pull out of the meet because you've sustained a really, really terrible injury. So where are we at? We've got Fernando Arias, 859. Shane Haller, 848. And both men have a 507 bench on the day. Not the day either of them wanted, but it's the day they've got. So it comes down to deadlifts, right? Who's got the edge? And that's a difficult question. Fernando Arias, let's start with him. He is the current all-time world record holder for the conventional deadlift in the sport of powerlifting. 981 pounds. That's pretty big. Shane Haller, on the other hand, a lot like Craig, where we know that his performance on the platform is different than what open powerlifting portrays. His most recent meet, he went a little viral because he struggled to keep 900 pounds on the ground while setting up. Some people struggle to deadlift 900 pounds. And the way that training has been going, £1,000 is on the table for both of these boys. Or at least it would have been if Fernando hadn't torn his pec. Both Both men successfully locked out their openers, but that's not where the story ends. That's where the story starts, because if you go into a powerlifting meet assuming that your openers are going to be your final attempts, then you selected your openers wrong. Wait, I only got my openers at my last meet. Next up, second attempt. Fernando Arias, knowing that he's got a torn pec, stays a little conservative. Shane, on the other hand, he goes for a platform PR and pulls 936 pounds. Now, a little behind the scenes, Fernando and Shane are sharing an Airbnb. They're buddies, they're friends, they talk daily. They know each other's plan. Fernando knows that Shane is going to load up 1,003 pounds for his third attempt deadlift. And he also knows he has this torn pec that's gonna limit him a little bit. He's deadlifted 981 pounds before, but he's not at his best right now because of an injury. So he does a bit of Pokemon nuzlocking and puts together the perfect plan. Now, you never want to assume your competitor is going to miss a lift, but you also don't want your competitor to run away with it. So Fernando came up with this drastic plan. I can't deadlift 981 pounds today. I can't deadlift 1,003 today, which was his goal. And Shane knew that. So he loaded up 970 pounds. The best lift that he could get on that day, because Fernando is a professional. He is very aware of his body's capabilities. And Shane, before this meet, he had announced that this unfortunately will be his last powerlifting meet. And you never want to go out being so close to 1,000 pounds that you never load it up. Leave the sport before the sport leaves you. The man's kahunas were bigger than Randy Marsh's were in that one episode of South Park where they started microwaving their balls for weed cards. The bar's loaded. The man is ready. He takes it. It's shaking, it's shaking, it's shaking. Locks it out. Good lift. 2336 pound total on a not so amazing day. Man still went 8 for 9. But can Shane do it? Can Shane lock out 1,003 pounds and steal the win from Fernando? Shane walks up to the bar, sets up his sumo stance, contrasting to Fernando's conventional stance. Sets his hooks because Shane pulls hook grip. Lord bless his thumbs. And he initiates the pull. The bar leaves the ground. The bar gets past his knees. The bar gets to lockout and... wow. The hooks failed him. And unfortunately, Shane dropped the bar and dropped 1,003 pounds. So close. $10,000 in the pocket of Fernando Arias. Coors Lights, the champagne of powerlifting, make their rounds through the powerlifting community. A delightful battle between three of the greatest powerlifters of all time. Craig Foster took a crack at the all-time world record sleeve squat. Fernando Arias clutched out an amazing 2336 pound total. And Shane Haller got so close to 1,003 pound deadlift on his final time on the platform. Congratulations to all three boys. We're going to miss both Craig and Shane in the future. And we know that Fernando is going to be competing over and over again with great frequency as he loads up and gets ready for another competition. But that's not where the weekend ended. The weekend ended with the queen of the platform. Stay tuned for that one coming up next.